Okay, everybody, it's me, Bunker922. It's not a me. Kaisen time. Jujutsu Kaisen, Culling Games, Episode 8. Tokyo Colony number 1, Part 2. Now, this episode starts with the main focus of this episode, which is going to be the main focus for a few episodes. And of course, I'm talking about um, Higuruma. Now, I did find something kind of interesting. The guy who plays Higuruma is Gintoki from Gintama. Go figure that one out. Anyway, moving on. Um, I remember reading kind of briefly in the manga of how his backstory and everything in between. I really like this character. I know what happens to this character later on, so I'm not going to spoil anything, which is kind of messed up. But it's kind of interesting when you look at how the Culling games are managed. There are sorcerers who come back to life and inhabit a body, basically. They inhabit in a body, and that's how they come to be. But then there are certain people who were never sorcerers, were never Jujutsu sorcerers, and all of a sudden they get these abilities, and well, I find it interesting that out of everyone, Higuruma, this is the wrong person. I, I mean, when I say this is the wrong person to have these abilities for. Especially when you consider the fact of who he is and what he stands for and what happened to him. Because we basically get the whole spiel of his backstory. He's a lawyer, a defense attorney, and he's trying to help this guy who was going to be going to jail for the murders of I think his mother and his daughter and his sister. And he got it so where the guy got off. He wasn't going to go to jail, but then there was going to be a retrial, and the retrial may sentence him to life imprisonment. And at that moment, he realized that it didn't matter. They also have another scene in the episode where he's talking to this woman who he used to be with as part of another firm, and she asks him, "What about your mental state?" And then we just cut to basically he's in the courtroom and his ability kicks in. It just activates. He becomes a sorcerer and he says, "Retrial!" Boom! And then you see this black cloud coming up. This is the judge of his ability. So now there was no new episode last week, so this to recap also what happened last week. Yuji and Megumi split. So Yuji is going to see Higuruma, while Megumi is seeing this guy Reggie. So he got played. He got fooled. But then he's like talking about putting on his wolf and everything. So, and while they're having a conversation, Yuji's having the conversation with Higuruma. And in Hiraguma's eyes, this is a golden opportunity. He can judge people with no recourse. And you see, that's what I mean when I say he's kind of the wrong person. Think about it. He's a defense attorney, a lawyer, and the client he represented went to jail anyway, even though he won the case originally. But the retrial, he lost. And this ability comes in. What the hell do you think he's gonna do? Judge, judge, judge. And his domain expansion is called Deadly Sentencing. Now, what transpires here between him and Yuji is kind of interesting. I like this part in the story with Kaisen because here you have somebody who views the law in the way he views it and has had bad experience with the law and didn't get the right outcome against somebody like Yuji who blames himself solely of what happened, which comes into play during this confrontation, which we're going to get next week. Now, the conversation, basically, he's just saying he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to help them with his 100 points, and Yuji tells him, oh, everybody's going to die. No, that's not going to happen. He's basically put out. Higuruma says, no, that's not going to happen. Not happening. And even the other guy, Reggie, is stating to Megumi also that that's not going to happen. That everyone's going to die. So. Then we get cut to also Kenjaku seeing these other dudes. And then a bomb blows up. That was probably the logistics of what happened in this episode. So it was a lot more exposition, a lot more talking. But I just like how they did the introduction of Higuruma. To me, he's a very interesting character. Because, and you'll see also later on, I think we get this one guy, he's a comedian, and he's a Jujutsu sorcerer now. But when you have someone who's not a sorcerer, and he becomes a sorcerer, and his line of work is something that has caused him great grief and his mental state, now given the ability, free reign. And that's the way I look at it with Higuruma. He has free reign to judge anyone with no recourse. Like, the only thing, his ability, basically, it's absolute. It's it's not. He was so pissed off by what happened that this ability woke up, and he's like, bang, bang, in the courthouse, retrial. I was like, wow. But when we go along with it, you'll see how it develops. I just really liked how Mappa handled it in this episode. Now, even though there wasn't a lot of fighting, we're going to get more action-packed shit going down between Higuruma and Rin and Yuji, and it's going to be high-octane action and everything in between. I'm going to give this 8.5 out of 10, but I will say that He's one of my favorite characters, this guy. I like him very much. I know what happens to him because I kind of got spoiled. I'm not going to say what happens to him. But still, even though, it is what it is, I still like him to extent of what he is. Um, and how now he's a sorcerer and now he has the ability to use his experience as a lawyer to judge the guilty and prove the not guilty of the innocent, which I find very admirable. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all really we got. So now next week's called Tokyo Colony Number One, Part 3. And we're gonna get this. It's basically, yeah, it's a court cut case, and Yuji, I believe, asks for a retrial, and then he shocks Higuruma by what he says. So it's like one of those things you got to see. But overall, good episode. Of what as we go along with the Culling games. This was episode 8, so we're probably but I honestly believe this is the second core. We're getting a second core with this. So this is probably going to be 12 episodes, and then next we'll get the rest. But overall, I do like how this season is going with the cast of characters and everything between. And it's going to be very interesting to see this dynamic between Yuji and Higuruma in the next episode. That's all I got for you guys. This is Bankai 922, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.